Hello and welcome back to Get Great at Maths. I'm here to help you pass your maths exam, so hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to look at keywords, key formulas and how to gain top marks. So let's get ready to get great at maths. This is a question on trigonometry, Pythagoras Theorem and ratio, and it's a problem involving all three of these things. We're going to look at the keywords within the question to start with and the key measurements that are given. So we've got a length of AD which is 10, which is the distance in the diagram you can see highlighted in yellow. The angle BAD, which is the angle shown in the diagram between BA and D. And then we've got an angle of 90 degrees, which are the two squares in the diagram at B and D. So angle ABD and angle BCD are both right angles. All this information is in the diagram. Now you're told that the ratio of the length BD to DC is 1 to 2.4. What that means is BD is equivalent to 1, so that length here that's just highlighted in green is equivalent to 1. Then the length D to C is 2.4, which has just been highlighted in blue. We've got to work out the length of B to C, which has just been highlighted in pink, and you must show you're working out. The question is worth 7 marks. There is a lot of information that you're going to have to do in this question to be able to get the 7 marks. And to be able to answer this question, you need to know the key facts. Now our first key fact is that we're going to be using trigonometry, which is SO, CA, TOA. So you need to know how to find SO, CA or TOA using trigonometry. You will also need to know some exact trig values. So you've either got to work out whether it's sine of 30, which is a half, cos of 30, which is root 3 over 2, or tan of 30, which is root 3 over 3. These things are facts that you need to know. If you don't know them, write them down and highlight them. Make sure you know those key formula. You're also going to be using Pythagoras Theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And these are the key facts we need to be able to answer this question. Make sure you've written down the key facts, highlight them, stick them in a bubble and write them with your other key facts that you've got already. Have a go at doing the question, press pause and then press play when you're ready to have a go at doing the answer. So to start with, we're going to look at the triangle ADB. And on this triangle, the hypotenuse is the longest length, which is from A to D because it is opposite the right angle at B. The opposite is the green side because it is opposite the angle 30 degrees, which means my other side is the adjacent. So I'm using the hypotenuse and the opposite. So on my key facts up on the top right, I need to highlight all the H's. Now the H's I'm highlighting because I know the hypotenuse is 10. I want to find the opposite, so I'm going to highlight the opposites. Now the one which uses both the opposite and the hypotenuse is the first one here, which is the SO. So we're going to be using SO to work out the opposite length. Now once I've worked out that it's SO, the O always goes in the middle, so it's SOH. Now the top line that's just been highlighted shows that this is a divide. The one underneath shows we've got a times. And we want to find the opposite, so I cover up the opposite and I'm left with S and H, and the line in between means multiply. So my key formula is opposite is equal to sine of the angle times by hypotenuse, where I've called the angle theta. So that symbol there means theta. Write down the key formula in red and highlight it. Now if you put opposite to be the length B to D, the angle is going to be 30, so it's sine of 30, and my hypotenuse is 10. You've got 1 mark for putting in the values for 30 and for 10 into that formula. The next mark comes from knowing the value of sine 30. And I've written my key formula up on the right hand side, and we know that sine 30 is equivalent to 0.5. So 0.5 times 10 gives me the second mark. Now 0.5 times 10, literally a half of 10, is 5 for my third mark. So I've worked out the length of B to D. Now we're told the ratio of B to D to C is 1 to 2.4, but I know that B to D is actually 5, not 1. So to get from 1 to 5, I've got to multiply by 5, which means I've got to multiply my 2.4 by 5. So DC is going to be 2.4 times by 5. If you wrote that, that would give you 1 mark. Now to multiply by 5 without a calculator is quite tricky. You can do it by pen and paper method, or the easier way is to multiply by 10 and then halve your answer. because 10 divided by 2 is the same as 5. So if I multiply 2.4 times 10, which gives me 24, divided by 2 gives me 12 for 1 mark. So my length BC along the top is 12. So I have got two sides of a triangle. I know the green side is 5, I know the blue side is 12, and I've got to work out the pink side. Now my formula that I'm going to be using is Pythagoras. Okay, so I'm going to be using Pythagoras' theorem, where a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now c is always the hypotenuse, the longest length of the triangle, which is why c is opposite the right angle at D, and it's the length from B to C, which is what we want to calculate. So I'm going to put these values into the formula. So instead of writing a squared, I'm going to write 5 squared. Instead of writing b squared, I'm going to write 12 squared. And c squared is just c squared. Now 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144, because 5 times 5 is 25 and 12 times 12 is 144. Remember, this is on a non-calculator paper. I add these two numbers together to give me 169, and you'll be expected to know that the square root of 169 is equivalent to 13 for the last mark. So you need to know your square numbers and your cube numbers up to 5 cubed and up to 12 or 15 squared for the square numbers. So make sure you know those values. The mark scheme on this paper shows that you have to show correct working. So the answer is 13 and you must show your working. There were 7 marks in total. M1 means a method mark. OE means or equivalent. B1 is also a method mark. SOI means seen or implied, so if you've written 0.5 for sine 30 anywhere, you will get a mark. A1 are answer marks. And the word there means using your answer that you got for BD, so even if that answer was wrong, you can still get a method mark within there. Note SC3 down the bottom for answer with no working, so if you got the answer 13 without any working, you get 3 marks. That's all you can get awarded. For 2 marks was the answer 12 with no working, and 1 mark is the answer 5 with no working. So it's really important you show your working out in order to get the marks for this question, otherwise you won't get the maximum marks that you could be awarded.
If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below to let me know what you would like to see in my next video. See you next time!